Counsel for EFF Member of Parliament, Dr. Mbuyiseni Ndlozi, have argued in the South Gauteng High Court that the way in which the Daily Sun reported on a sexual complaint was unlawful and defamatory. Ndlozi has taken the Media 24 publication to court over an April 2021 report which named Ndlozi as the alleged rapist of a woman during a party in Sandton. Ndlozi wants the court to direct the publication to remove the statements within 24 hours from all its platforms, apologize and retract it, and pay 120,000 rand in damages.
The court puts the question pertinently because Dr. Ndlozi's case has never been that they can't report anything, because that would reach too far into suppressing media freedom rights. It's rather about, if you're going to publish something like that about me, qualify it appropriately so the reasonable reader who drives past it in Dunkeld is not left with the single conclusion that I raped somebody, but that it is an allegation, it is open to debate, it is being contested, or anything of the kind.
Now, SABC News reporter Canny Maphanga joins us for more. We heard, of course, a lot of the merits under which Ndlozi is launching this case. Why is it so important to him?
Well, essentially, Mbuyiseni Ndlozi is making a defamation claim as a public figure and someone that he says in papers that he has fought against gender-based violence, his partner as well as the party he represents. So I think it was important to clarify that the complaint was not an issue for Ndlozi at the time. It was the manner in which Daily Sun reported the complaint that was lodged there at the Gauteng SABC rather, which is why he brought this application, or this motion rather, in the Gauteng High Court to say that there are three statements which he says are defamatory and unlawful, because if you look at them in isolation, one, or the reasonable person rather, would draw the conclusion that he was in fact a quote-unquote rapist. Now, the statements he's referring to was a poster by the Daily Sun. In inverted commas, it stated Mbuyiseni raped me, so it accused him of raping an individual, and it didn't attribute that comment to anyone or give context to what it was referring to. There was just that poster and that line saying, read the Daily Sun tomorrow. Then, of course, there's another article which it's clear that it's based on a victim statement or perhaps a third-party source. I couldn't ascertain from the court hearing whether it was from the victim statement or a third party may have read it out to the Daily Sun journalist. And then, of course, there's a third article which almost exonerates Mr. Ndlozi, because it's the Gauteng SABC confirming that a complaint was lodged, but he is not the subject of the inquiry at the time.
So, I mean, it's interesting, not only for, as it pertains to Dr. Mbuyiseni Ndlozi himself, but also how it pertains to reporting on these matters. And one of the key pivotal matters that the court is seized with is how do you report what is deemed to be in the public interest?
I think that was at the core, Iman, of the issue today. It was whether would Ndlozi had been named in the report if he was not a public figure, and whether the complaints could have been reported on without going into such detail, or rather fact-checking before naming that individual. You may know that now, as we report on gender-based violence matters, a lot of the time the actual subject of the complaint is not named throughout proceedings to protect the victim. However, in this case, we saw a different scenario where, based on that victim statement, it's not in dispute that there was a complaint. Rather, it's the manner in which the complaint was reported on in the publication, and the way in which Ndlozi was named, and the damage he says that he suffered due to that reporting. He said that when he first saw the reports, he was driving down Dunkeld, this is in papers, and that is when he saw that billboard poster which made this allegation against him, without qualifying it or giving any context, leaving the reasonable person to come to the conclusion that that statement was actually a statement which is a matter of fact. And I think it's the way in which the media reports on issues of such importance that is at the core of this case that we saw at the Gauteng High Court in Johannesburg.
Yeah, it's certainly, one of the central conversations we have in South Africa around gender-based violence. So we've got a sense of his legal argument, or his legal, the process he will follow architecturally. How's the publication? How are they planning to vote this? What's their game plan looking like?
Well, of course, Daily Sun has opposed the motion. They stand by their story, and they stand by the manner in which they have reported it. How they explain the poster is that it's basically a catchy phrase that is intended to, I guess, get the listener or the reasonable viewer to get to the paper itself where the story is properly explained. So they go through the various articles or the set of events, reported set of events, where they cover all parties in the second article, as well as them reflecting that Gauteng SABC has in fact stated that he was not the subject of that inquiry at the time. So they've gone through that journalistic process to say that this is how we've covered the set of events. We've covered it not as a matter of fact, but rather as an allegation. But that is not how Ndlozi sees it. He sees it as something which was stated as a matter of fact, and by that fact alone should have been deemed defamatory and unlawful.
It's going to be very interesting, not only for us as media practitioners, but also for cases of this nature generally in South African society. So it's definitely one to watch. Thank you so much, Canny, for that slick summation. Our SABC News reporter, Canny Maphanga.